Some bonds are so deep, even 20 years of separation can't erase their echo. Seoul's morning was wrapped in winter light, soft, gray, and strangely heavy. Inside Han Group headquarters, the employees moved with the urgency of people who feared a single mistake too much. Because mistakes didn't survive under CEO Han Min-jae. Min-jae, 33, walked through the lobby with his usual controlled stride, tailored coat, cold eyes, expression unreadable. He was the kind of man people stepped aside for, instinctively, like a storm they hoped wouldn't touch them. But today, something made him pause. A young woman was kneeling in the middle of the marble floor, picking up papers that had spilled from her box. Her hair fell around her face, hiding her expression, but her movements were quick, determined, almost too familiar. Employees rushed past her, but no one helped. Min-jae didn't either. He just stared. Not because she was unusual, but because something in his chest pulled sharply, a sensation he hadn't felt since childhood. Recognition. Impossible, illogical recognition. The woman stood, clutching her documents, letting out a quiet breath before hurrying toward the elevator. She didn't even see him. And yet, Min-jae couldn't stop watching her. He shook the thought off sharply. He didn't have time for distractions, especially not ones that made his heart throb in strange old patterns. Strangers don't usually stop your breathing, unless they were never strangers to begin with. In the elevator, Min-jae's assistant read the morning schedule, but Min-jae wasn't listening. His mind kept replaying the woman's bowed head, the shape of her profile, the way she moved. "This is ridiculous," he scolded himself. 20 years had passed since his sister disappeared. 20 years since the funeral. He never truly believed. 20 years since his mother told him to forget. He had forgotten. Hadn't he? The elevator doors opened to the 23rd floor. Recruitment. Interviews for junior analyst roles. A waste of his time, normally. But today, he walked in. Managers jumped to their feet. "See CEO Han. We weren't expecting." He didn't let them finish. "Continue." His gaze scanned the candidates sitting nervously in the waiting area, and there she was, the same woman from the lobby. Hair neatly tied now, papers organized, eyes sharp but tired. She sat straight-backed, hands clasped on her lap, trying to look calm. She felt familiar even from across the room. Painfully familiar. Why? Why her? Min-jae's heartbeat kicked against his ribs, a strange, unwelcome rhythm. He forced himself to look away. This was absurd. His sister was dead, a memory buried, a wound he had learned to ignore. Yet the woman, somehow, made that wound throb again. Sometimes the first clue is not the face, but the name that feels too close to home. Inside the interview room, the hiring managers led the session while Min-jae watched silently behind them, arms crossed. One by one, candidates presented their portfolios. Then it was her turn. She stepped forward with confidence that didn't match her age, quiet strength, steady breathing, eyes filled with something deeper than ambition. "Name?" the manager asked. She bowed. "Park Yura." Min-jae's head snapped up. Yura. A name too close to another name he once cherished. Yuri, his sister. He swallowed hard, his jaw tightening. Coincidence. It had to be. It felt like listening to a voice from a forgotten home. She presented her proposal with passion and skill, better than any other applicant. She wasn't inexperienced. She was simply undiscovered. When the managers left the room, Min-jae remained seated, staring at the papers she had left behind. All logic said she was just another applicant. But something greater, instinct, blood memory, fate, whispered differently. His hand trembled slightly as he picked up her resume. Park Yura, born 2000. Adopted. His breath hitched. Adopted. A word that punched him in the chest. Yura didn't know he was watching her through the glass wall. She sat alone, reorganizing her files, humming a tune under her breath. A tune he knew, a tune only one person ever hummed to him as a child. The lullaby his sister used to sing. Min-jae stood abruptly, chair scraping the floor. No, impossible. And yet, the truth tugged at him like a memory refusing to stay buried. He forced himself to breathe evenly. She was a stranger. She had to be. Because if she wasn't, then he had lived his entire adult life on a lie. Fate gives warnings. He ignored every single one. The interview panel returned with their final votes. They chose 3 candidates. Not her. Too emotional, they said. Too intense. Too passionate. Min-jae's voice cut through the room. Offer the position to Park Yura. The manager stared in disbelief. Sir, but her ranking was wrong. Her experience is irrelevant. She's too young. I said hire her. Silence swallowed the room. No one argued with the CEO. Not if they wanted to keep their jobs. At her desk, Yura received the message. Congratulations, you have been selected. Report to the CEO's floor on Monday. She covered her mouth, eyes shaking with relief. Min-jae watched from the opposite hallway, hidden partially by a glass partition. He told himself he hired her because she was talented, because she deserved it, because she was the best choice. But deep down, beneath the layers of logic and power and discipline, he knew the truth. He hired her because something inside him whispered, don't let her disappear again. Some people fit into your world instantly. Some feel like they've always been there. The first week of Yura's new job felt like a dream and a nightmare. She worked 3 times harder than everyone else, arriving before sunrise, leaving after dark. She spent lunches alone, taking notes, practicing data runs, reviewing past reports. But no matter how quietly she moved, Han Min-jae noticed everything. From his office, with the floor-to-ceiling windows, he caught glimpses. The way she tied her hair in a rushed knot. The way she muttered formulas under her breath. The way she hummed that old lullaby unconsciously. A melody that cut through him like a knife dipped in memory. Each day, he told himself, it's coincidence. Stop thinking about it. But each day, the déjà vu grew deeper. Secrets don't stay hidden when fate pushes them into the light. One afternoon, Yura knocked on the CEO's office door, carrying the quarterly report he requested. Come in, Min-jae said, without turning from his laptop. She placed the folder on his desk. As she leaned forward, her sleeve dropped slightly, revealing a small, faint mark on her wrist. Min-jae froze. His breath left him. A birthmark. The exact same shape as the one his sister had. He stood up too quickly, chair scraping. Yura startled, stepping back. Sir, did I do something wrong? What is that? He asked sharply, pointing at her arm. She blinked. My birthmark? I've had it since I was a baby. Why? He grabbed the back of his chair, knuckles white. He needed to regain control. He needed to breathe. He needed the truth. But not like this. You can go, he said tightly. Yura left, confused and hurt. When the door closed, Min-jae sank into his chair, hands shaking. Birthmark, lullaby, adopted, name. Too many coincidences, too many signs. If he let himself believe it, his world could break. Truth eventually claws its way out, even from the people who love us most. That evening, Min-jae drove straight to his mother's house. She opened the door with a warm smile that faded instantly at the sight of his eyes. Min-jae, what's wrong? He stepped inside quietly. A silence heavier than winter filled the air. Where is Yuri's file? His voice was low, dangerous. She stiffened. Why do you ask about your sister now? I saw someone today, he said, Someone who? His mother trembled. A teacup in her hand clattered against the table. Min-jae, please don't. Where is her file? Tears welled in her eyes. Your sister didn't die, she whispered. She was taken from me before I could protect you both. I lied to keep you safe from the inheritance war. I lied because it was the only way to keep you alive. The room spun around him. His heart felt ripped from his chest. His mother sobbed, clutching her hands together. She survived, Min-jae, and she was adopted. I don't know where she is now, but he cut her off. I know where she is. His mother froze. He whispered the name like a prayer and a curse. Park Yura. Some truths feel like reunions. Others feel like collisions. The next morning, Min-jae called Yura into his office. She entered hesitantly, the tension from yesterday lingering between them. Sit, he said gently. That alone terrified her more than anger would have. He placed a small photograph on the table, a picture of a little girl next to a younger version of him. Yura stared at it, then at him. Confusion flooded her eyes. Then shock, then something deeper, something she didn't have words for. Why are you showing me this? She whispered. He swallowed. Because I think you're her. Yura felt the world tilt beneath her feet. No, she said faintly. I don't have siblings. I was adopted. Yes, but do you know your original surname? He asked. She shook her head. He took a breath that seemed to tear his lungs. Your name was Han Yura. She covered her mouth, stumbling back. No, this can't. The lullaby, the familiarity, her adoptive parents always avoiding questions. Everything aligned, everything shattered. Yura's knees buckled, and she sank into the chair, trembling. Min-jae knelt down, something no employee had ever seen him do. You're my sister, he whispered, voice cracking, and for the first time since childhood, Min-jae cried, and for the first time in her life, Yura felt the ache of a family she never knew she lost. What happens when the person you trusted looks at you like a stranger? Seojun sat at the edge of the long conference table, hands clasped so tightly his knuckles went white. Jiyeon stood by the door, unsure if she should step inside or run. The letter from his father, the confession that ruined everything, lay between them like a weapon. Jiyeon, Seojun said quietly, I need you to sit. I don't think I can, she whispered. I don't even know who I am to you anymore. You're someone I should have known, someone I should have protected. Her eyes shimmered. He swallowed. You read it, right? The letter? She nodded once. I read everything. Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. Some truths are cruel, but hiding them is worse. Seojun slid the letter toward her. It wasn't your fault, he said. None of this was your fault. The letter explained. His father, Chairman Han, had an affair long ago. He had a daughter before marrying Seojun's mother. That daughter was Jiyeon. She had grown up poor, unprotected, unaware of the family she should have had. Meanwhile, Seojun lived in privilege, guided into the CEO position she should have inherited equally. Jiyeon covered her mouth. You had a family, and I was outside, watching from the cold. Seojun felt his throat tighten. I didn't know, I swear. There are words you can't take back, even when the truth changes everything. Jiyeon wiped her cheeks. We almost, I know. It feels wrong to even say it now. It wasn't wrong, he said firmly. We didn't know. She hugged herself tightly. But we can't go back. No, he agreed. But we don't have to pretend nothing existed either. This was the part that hurt the most. They had almost fallen for each other, almost kissed, almost confessed. A parallel universe might have let them continue, but reality had slammed into them, uninvited and merciless. Seojun stepped closer, but not too close. We'll figure out what we are now. Family is more than blood. But blood changes the map. Jiyeon nodded, finally breathing again. When the truth comes out, everyone wants a piece of it. The next day, HR and the board gathered for an emergency meeting. Rumors had spread. Someone had leaked that the CEO was involved with an employee. Jiyeon's heart pounded. Seojun stood at the front of the room like a soldier going to war. There was no inappropriate relationship, he stated, and there never will be. Miss Jiyeon is my sister, and I will protect her the same way I would have if I'd known earlier. Gasps, whispers. Jiyeon lowered her eyes, but for the first time, she didn't feel small. She felt seen. He continued. My father made decisions that hurt people. I won't repeat his sins. From today, Jiyeon will be transferred to a role that fits her talent, not rumors. The board approved. HR apologized. The company shifted, and Seojun walked out with his head high, Jiyeon walking quietly beside him. Sometimes family is found too late, but still right on time. Outside the building, Seoul's winter wind brushed over them. Jiyeon pulled her coat tighter. What happens now? She asked softly. Seojun gave a small smile. You're my sister. That's what happens now. She blinked hard. Not sadness, not regret, just acceptance. And you're my brother, she said, even if we met too late. They walked side by side, no longer CEO and employee, no longer almost lovers, but two adults facing a truth that changed everything and yet set them free. They didn't lose each other. They simply changed the label. Not every story ends in romance. Some end in something stronger. Months later, Jiyeon thrived in her new role. Seojun restructured the company to be kinder, fairer. Their relationship rebuilt itself on truth, not circumstance. On a quiet evening, they stood on the rooftop of the company building. I'm proud of you, Seojun said. I'm proud of us, she replied. They smiled, not the wounded smiles of two people who almost broke each other, but the warm smiles of siblings who survived confusion, shame, fear, and identity together. Their story wasn't a love story, not in the way people expected, but it was a story about love, the kind found in truth, healing, and family.